What's up, everyone? Pet Party here. Today I'm going to go over a couple of things I've learned over the last few years of selling items on eBay. I don't profess to be, some super mega ultra seller or anything like that with, 560,000 feedback or, anything ridiculous. But I have done about 1,000 transactions over the last few years. I haven't really done a whole lot in the last year because of it being a bit of a gong show, but I'll get into that in a minute. So, for anyone who lives under a rock and doesn't know, eBay is a selling platform on the interwebs where you can take shit that you don't want anymore and sell for money to people who want your shit. So, there's two different options when it comes to selling on eBay. You can either post stuff for an auction, which means you list a starting price and an end date, and at that end date, your card is going to sell for whatever the highest bid is. Now, the plus side to something like that is once the auction ends, as long as the person, pays their tab, you haven't been shill bid or any foolishness like that, you're going to have cash in hand. The downside is your item might not, realize the expected value that you had in that particular item. One plus side, though, is depending on, how the bids go and the type of people you have involved in the auction, your item might realize a sales value far exceeding what you may have originally. Now, with buy it now pricing, you have the complete control over what the item will sell for. You can list it at a hard buy it now with no offers available, or you can add a best offer option, which allows people to, bid a little bit below or substantially low for people who are idiots the asking price that you have. Now, one of the main downsides to that particular way of selling is if you need money fast, putting it on buy it now may not result in an extremely fast sale, depending on what you price it at. Now, if you, want to fire sell it, you're going to put it at 50% the going rate, chances are it's probably going to sell. But if you want to get, your maximum expected sale value, you might have to wait a while. I've had certain items using a Gold Star Ridge Rock, I think it was as an example. I graded one a PSA 10 last year. Or no, that was a year before last, Jesus. And it sat on eBay, being the cheapest one on eBay, for almost 2 months, and finally ended up selling for not even $400 US. And that was, no, it was last year. Yeah, because it's the end of 2019, my bad. And, today it's well over $2,000. So something like that, where even though I was competitively priced, because, so no one necessarily was looking for that particular item, and there were a few listed for buy it now, even though I was the cheapest by a decent bit, no one was scrambling to buy it because there were a few available. Now, if I listed that same card today at that same price, it would most likely be sold in 5 or 10 minutes. So you need to keep that into perspective when you're trying to price your items, that the market, we'll call it volatility, is going to dictate what you end up selling things for when it comes to buy it now. Another thing to keep in mind is the fact that there are very shitty people on the internet. Like I mentioned a minute ago, you have people who are willing to shill bid, which is people who make a bid on your item and have no intention of actually following through on that bid and purchase what you're actually selling. So the problem with that is if an item sells for, say, for easy math, $1,000 on auction, and the person who wins the bidding war message you and says, oh shit, I didn't authorize this, my kid was playing on my phone, I told them not to do it again. This has actually happened to me, by the way. Can you go ahead and cancel that for me? You as a seller, you can, cancel the transaction. Depending on how you cancel the transaction, your account might take a hit. There's a few different ways of canceling transactions on eBay as a seller. You can put it down as damaged or lost. If you do that, you're going to get a knock against your account. That's going to affect your eBay, like specific between you and eBay feedback. If you get so many of those, you're going to lose, your top rated seller status and all the perks that come along with that. You also have the option of canceling due to the buyer. So I highly recommend doing that if that's the case and you want to go that route. Or you can click problem with buyer shipping address. So this happens to me regularly where, people from overseas go on eBay.com to see the maximum amount of listings. Because for anyone who doesn't know, if you go on eBay.com, you're only going to see listings that ship to the United States. So with collectibles, specifically, your North American English Yu-Gi-Oh cards, or Pokemon or Magic or whatever like that, generally a lot of the sellers and people with the bigger collections, quote unquote, are going to be based in the US, and a lot of people in the US don't like shipping internationally. So because of that, they only limit it to shipping within the US. So if you're on ebay.ca even in Canada, or ebay.ie, I think it is for Ireland, maybe? I can't remember. Any of the European eBay websites, you're not going to see the listings that only are listed on ebay.com, because those particular sellers only want to sell and ship to people in the US for whatever reason. So a lot of the time you'll get people who go on ebay.com from overseas to look at all the listings. They'll put in bids, or they'll try and buy your product and buy it now, and then they message you like, oh, why don't you ship to me? And I've had that a number of times with people over in places like New Zealand and over in Europe especially, where, especially with COVID on the go, you don't want to be shipping overseas like that and risk it getting caught in customs and then having chargeback filed against you. So you do have that option as well, where you can click problem with sellers, shipping address, and I'm pretty sure that doesn't affect your account rating with eBay. Don't quote me on that one though. However, if you want to be, I'm not going to call it a douchebag or anything like that, because I've done it a few times with people who really piss me off. You can just let it ride, and you can open up a item not paid dispute with eBay after a few days. So the way that an item not paid dispute works is, if someone bid on your item and they don't pay, you can set your account to do it automatically, or you can do it by yourself, where you file a claim with eBay saying that this scumbag seller asshole didn't pay for the item they said they were going to pay for. And if you do that, the buyer's account is actually going to be the one that gets the knock against them instead of you. Now, generally, when you do that, you are going to get very angry messages, or, people might leave you negative feedback. You can get negative feedback removed if you call in. It's a bit of a hassle and a pain in the ass, but just keep that in mind. Just because some douchebags leaves you a negative review doesn't mean you can't get rid of it. So, like we said, you can sell on eBay, buy it now, you can do auctions, whatever your preference is. With auctions, you got to watch out for the, shill bidders who are trying to either price hype an item they already own, or they just want to jack up the price for someone else who's buying it because they're assholes. Now, when you actually have a sale that gets paid for, and you need to ship to, your buyer of that particular item, one thing you need to keep in mind is that you have to have tracking with everything on eBay. Otherwise, you open yourself up to a chargeback. So the way it works is in eBay's automated system, if an item does not have tracking and there's a dispute opened up against you, the buyer is going to win the case 100% of the time. Doesn't matter what kind of proof you could have, them or you dropping off the thing to the mailman with a justice of the peace signing off that the mailman got it. None of that shit matters with their tracking. eBay's automated system's automatically going to rule in the buyer's favor. They're going to take the money out of your account, and you're going to get a knock against your account for, I forget whatever the term is, but you as a buyer will get a knock that'll last on your account for 12 months. Highly recommend you don't do that. And if, you are selling penny or dollar cards on your account to make a bit of money, if you aren't doing tracking with those cards and someone opens up a dispute, just accept the dispute, take it on the chin, give them their money, and block them. Because if you don't, like I said, your account's going to get a knock against you. It's going to affect your seller feedback standards with eBay. And on your seller dashboard, you'll get red lettering, you'll get gray lettering, and green lettering. You always want to stay in the green because you get a lot of benefits with that, which I'll go into later on. So always have tracking, especially if it's a very expensive item. If you don't do tracking, you're on your own. If someone opens up a claim, it is what it is. Just take it on the chin. Other than that, you need to be wary of people who open up claims against you for either damaged goods or goods not as described. So the way that those two claims work is if you as a seller ship something and the buyer claims the item is not as described. So, using Tim over at Yu-Gi-Oh! Tube as an unfortunate example, when people buy PSA 9 cards off of Tim, if they are buying it to see if it can regrade a 10, and they get the cards, oh shit, it got a white spot on the back. I don't want that anymore. And they open up a not as described case. You as the seller are screwed 100% of the time because eBay always gives the buyer the benefit of the doubt. So it's a really unfortunate situation because a lot of buyers take advantage of this to where they go, condition chasing on cards. And if the card isn't a PSA 10 quality, even if it's already a pre-graded card, they bitch and moan eBay and they get their money back. In that particular case, if that type of claim is open against you, always just accept the return, pray to God they send you the card back, and they get their money once you get the card back. The other one to watch out for is the damaged claim chargeback, because if they open up that, it's the same thing as the not as described chargeback, where the seller tells eBay, hey, this thing got damaged in shipping, and eBay will pretty well always side with the seller or the buyer, unfortunately. That's what insurance is supposed to be for. I have never had any benefit with insurance at all. The insurance on, your postal system, FedEx and UPS, generally they like to take your money. They don't like to give it back when you have a claim. So if you have to open up a claim with, USPS or Canada Post or anything like that, you're going to have a hell of a hard time trying to get actual money back. They always want to see a receipt for the sales item. And if you can't provide an actual receipt, so say if someone paid you friends and family on PayPal, there's no paper track record. They're not going to go by appraised value. You need to show physical sales data, and you're boned. They can also say that the card was just straight up damaged, and not necessarily from the mail system, but you as a seller sold them a damaged card, which goes back to not as described, and either way you're screwed. So keep those two things in mind. If you ever get either of those two cases open against you, just accept the return, pray to God they send you your card back, they don't send you a package of dog shit, and move on with it. I know some people in particular will actually damage the cards themselves to try and make the return or refund process with eBay easier. And that is super shitty and scummy, and please don't be like those douchebags. So, couple things to review. Selling on eBay, you can get a good chunk of money. Buy it now or auctions, up to your personal preference and how fast you need the money, and if you want to try to hit a new sales record on an item. Watch out for scumbags. They're going to try to take your money and keep your cards and all that shady shit. Please don't be like them. Really shitty thing to do. Nothing is worse than waking up in the morning and having an open dispute with eBay. Finally, when you do good on eBay and you're selling a decent amount, you might want to look at opening up a store account with them, because depending on the level of store account you have, eBay will actually cap the fees that they take off of your sale at around, I'm going to say, it's usually 9%. They'll cap it at, I believe, $250 USD. So if you're selling a $10,000 card, instead of paying eBay $900 and change, they're only going to take a maximum of $250. Now, that comes with a 1-year subscription to whatever service level you go with. So keep that in mind. Unless you're planning on doing a lot of volume and a few, big ticket purchases, you might not want to go that route. But it's something to keep in mind, as well as if you have enough positive feedback and you have enough completed sales, eBay can and will bump you up to power seller rating and top rated seller. And if you hit those two, you can get a decent amount of discounts. Like I said earlier, if you have a bunch of cases open against you, eBay is going to start recording those on your account, and you'll lose the perks associated with power seller and top rated seller. So really shitty to be in a situation where you have to take returns on something that you advertised honestly and earnestly. But if you don't, you're going to lose your money, and then you're going to have a knock on your account anyways, and that doesn't really benefit anyone. So, well, other than the douchebag bar that screwed you over. So, just a couple things I've learned over the last few years dealing with eBay. If you got any questions specifically on eBay-related selling things, hit me up on Instagram at PetaParty. I'll go over buying and all that other foolishness at a later date. So, hope you learned something, and have a good one.